Well, good morning, everyone. I have had my shower this morning. Let's have some coffee. Mmm, this tastes so good. I have a new, not sponsored, new lotion that I'm using. I used up the other one, and this is strawberry and vanilla. Same brand, Ultra Shea Butter. And so let's take care of my arms and my hands and my elbows with this. It smells so good. I love the scent of it. It's good for my skin. And I picked these up really, really cheap. I think they were maybe $2 a container. Okay. Yes, you can find expensive lotions, exact same lotions, exact same brand, at a really, really cheap price. You can. If you just look for it, okay? And I do. I look for it, and when I find the ones that I enjoy, I buy them up. Okay? I stock up on them. And so we have now conditioned my elbows and my hands. My hands tend to get really dry all year long. It doesn't matter what time of year. And so I try to keep that lotion right here on my desk. See it? Right there. So that it reminds me to put it on at least 2 to 3 times a day. So I start off in the morning, and yeah, in the afternoon I put it on again, and then before I go to bed I put it on again. So anyway, let's have some coffee. One of the things that I wanted to do, and I'm going to flip over to it right now, is I put out a what do they call it? I put out a post on my community page, and the question was, one of my viewers suggested a video topic, and I think it's a good idea. And so the post was Regina Wade asked a wonderful question. She wanted to do a Q&A, and I thought that was a wonderful idea. So I'm going to move you guys, like, I don't know what's in the background over there. I gotta make sure that there's nothing inappropriate in the background, like there's nothing really inappropriate in this room. But anyway, so yeah, so anyway, it's my junk back there. All right, so all right, let me fix my hair just a little bit while I'm sitting here. Okay, there we go. And so let's hit these questions. We're going to hit these questions today. All right. I have 10 of them. And the first question I'm going to hit is, what did you do before you retired? Okay. Well, if we want to start, okay, we can go all the way back to when I was younger, all right? But the biggest thing that I did was as I was a school teacher. I was a school teacher for about 22 years, between 20 and 22 years. And 2 years of it, I was substitute teaching. And so I did that. I work with mostly special needs kids, but I need you to understand that special needs kids are on both sides, okay? I had some really extremely intelligent students beyond me, okay? Way smarter than me, along with students that were on the lower side of that spectrum, okay? Who were intelligent in their own way. And I also taught English as a second language for many years after school. And I worked for a university for a few years, 3 years. I worked for a university. And then I took like a little stint of 3 years of working for a university, and then went back to public school teaching in the middle of that. So I did take a break. And I absolutely loved teaching. I loved it. It was not my first career choice at all. It is not what I envisioned myself doing when I was younger. But I loved it once I got in there. I loved the children. That was the biggest thing for me. Is I loved being around the children. I loved working with the children, seeing them accomplish some goals, achieving things. And so I was passionate about that. So before that, before I became a teacher, I worked for a retail chain, and I was a front end supervisor and manager. So I managed all the cashiers in the store, and I loved that job as well. Business was my first choice. I have a 2-year degree in business, and then took that degree and applied it into teaching, and went on and taught school. All right. Some years when I was teaching, I worked with behavioral children, and some years I didn't. All right. And so, I had a big array, okay, of things that I did. So for 10 years before teaching, I worked in the business industry, in retail. And much of that time I was spent in the front of this big retail chain, doing the friendly announcements throughout the store, and managing all the cashiers. And I enjoyed that as much as well. Before that, I did do a small stint working in a nursing home, both in the kitchen cooking and on the floor. I worked on the floor as a nurse's aide. And I did enjoy that, but I didn't stay very long. I was young. I was not even married at the time, so I think I was like 16 or 17 years old. And I didn't stay on the floor very long because the men were flirting, okay? I'm going to be honest with you. And so I didn't stay very long. I could not handle that as a teenager. And my father was not pleased by that as well. So yeah, I didn't stay in that job very long. Okay. And then before that, I worked, back then, we were allowed to do this, okay? The drinking age was 18. You could work in an establishment that sold alcohol at 16. And so I worked in a liquor store before that, when I was in high school. Yeah. And I liked that job as well. I did. So that took you all the way back to way back. All right. So I did quite a few jobs and enjoyed each and every one of them, and enjoyed my biggest thing was I enjoyed making money. All right. um, the second question comes from Mary. And Mary asks, what part of Texas are you living in? I live south of Houston, north of Galveston. Okay, I'm going to give you that range. All right. So, yes, I'm not telling you where in that area. Okay. But it is between Houston and Galveston. I'll give you that much. Lindy asks, I loved the videos of Spice. Can you give more information on him? Like, how old is he? Does he like toys? And how or where did you first meet him? Okay, so Spice, my companion for the last 11 years. He was 12 years old. Spice was at our local pound, okay? And I went in one day to, wasn't sure why I was there, okay? But I worked with, I wanted to work with some of the animals there, okay, on behaviors. And Spice was that. He was a handful, okay? He was. And so I decided that I was going to work with him. And I took him on as a project and got him fixed, because you can't leave the pond without him being fixed, okay? And so we got him fixed, and he came home with me. And when he came home with me, oh, I was hoping to get him shampooed and cleaned up before he came home, but it didn't happen. And because of circumstances, okay, it didn't happen. And so I'm stuck with a dog in my, back then I was in an apartment. In my apartment, I was stuck with a dog that smelled horrible. And I couldn't bathe him because he had just went through surgery. And so I went into PetSmart and talked to some of the people at PetSmart, and they told me to get some baby wipes and start working with him, and using the baby wipes to wipe him down, just stay away from the scar, from this where the stitches were. And so that's what I did. All right. And after a few of the baby wipe baths, he started smelling better. Okay. As soon as I could get him into the vet, I did. I took him into the vet, and they took a look at, I think it was like a day or two. All right. They took a look at everything, got him registered in there, and told me he was about a year old when he came in. And so they also told me what breed they thought he was. He was a cross between a Chihuahua and a Terrier, is what their thoughts were. And they listed him as a Terrier mix because he was more of the Terrier side than the Chihuahua side. And so his behaviors, his mannerisms, his build was more of the Terrier. His coloration was more of the Chihuahua, the black and the brown and the white. And so they listed him as a Terrier mix. And he was my companion for 11 years. About a year ago, I would say, about a year ago, he started having trouble with his gut. And so we put him on a very strict diet. And most of the time he was all right, but there were times when he was having trouble with his guts. Okay. And he was one of those that every once in a while he would find something without me behind my back and would eat it, okay? In the yard when we went for walks. And when he did that, then that's when his gut would mess up. And so we battled that for about a year. He wasn't like sick, ill, okay? Like didn't feel bad. But you could tell that he was having some gut issues, all right? And so I'm not going into details, but we battled that for about a year before he got real sick and I had to put him down. What we thought was a IBS was not IBS. It was cancer, all right? And so anyway, so he wasn't in pain for most of this last year. He wasn't. It was just right at the end when he was in pain. So it had to be done. All right. We're going to move up to the next question. Vicky asks, a lot of YouTubers do a question and answer video for their viewers. It lets people know a little about them. How did you get your start doing YouTube videos? All right, that's a good question. Well, I have been retired for a year. And I was sitting here at home telling myself, you got to get busy and do something. All right. And so, after a year of being chilled out and relaxed and resting up, I needed to get up and I needed to get busy doing something. And so I enjoy watching YouTube myself. And I thought, you know what? Let me turn my camera on and let's see what it takes to get this going. All right. And so I did. I just turned the camera on one day and filmed my first video. And it is in one of the playlists called Starting YouTube. And I figured out how it worked and started creating videos. And all I did was turn the camera on while I was inside my kitchen doing things, all right? And so that's how I started. I just started carrying the phone. I always have my phone with me because everybody always has their phone with them, okay? So I just got myself a little stand from Amazon and tripod selfie stick, okay, combination. And I just turned the camera on and started filming. And before I knew it, I had quite a few subscribers. I was pleasantly surprised, okay? I was. And so that's how I started. And I'm enjoying every minute of it. Spending days with you guys has made my year. All right. Rachel asked this question. Good afternoon, Susie. Hope you're having a blessed day and safe from the storm. I am. Okay. If I'm correct on what I'm seeing online with Beryl, you could see some nasty weather. Do you fill your tub or tubs if you have to take baths full of water in case it goes out in the storm? I'm glad you have a good pantry and have supplies for those types of things. So my question is, what is your best day ever that you remember? Paint me a picture. And also, what do you teach? And what grade? Why did you choose this rewarding career? What about it did you love? Okay, so those were several questions. So let's tackle them one at a time. Do I fill my bathtubs with water just in case the water goes out during the storm? And the answer to that is yes, I do. And there's for several reasons, okay? I can use that water to bathe with, to sponge bath. That's how I do it. If it ever goes out, I will sponge bath. I won't get into the tub to take a bath, but I will take some of the water out of the bathtub and do a sponge bath. That way it lasts longer. All right. Um, I do have a good pantry and supplies for things for moments like this when we are in a hurricane. I prefer to have my own stored up food that all you have to do is heat it up than to have things like potted meats and Vienna sausages and cans of ravioli and cans of spaghettios and things like that. I prefer to have my own canned stuff. And the reason is because for me, I know what goes in it. It's real food. It's not highly processed food. So, what is the best day ever that you remember? Paint me a picture. Oh, Lord. There's a couple of them. Okay. My wedding day was one of them. We had a simple wedding. It wasn't extravagant, but both of our families were there in a small church that just opened up. We were the first couple to get married in that church. And yeah, we only dated for 3 months before we got married. We knew. And our marriage lasts quite a few years, okay? Almost 30 years. So that was one, all right? It was a simple, let me paint you the picture. It was a simple wedding. I did not have my own wedding dress. I borrowed my wedding dress. It was a handmade wedding dress that my mother made for my older sister, and I borrowed it. The veil was mine. It was made by my mom, and the wedding ring set was a gift from his side of the family. So we were poor. We were po, okay? We were beyond poor. We were po when we got married, but determined. It was simple. Very minimal flowers into the church. And yeah, so it was really a simple wedding. Really simple. And yeah, so it was special though. The second one I wanted to express to you was the day I got, the days that I got some, what I consider foster children in my house. Okay. They were children that were family members, belonged to the family, that needed a place to stay, and they came to stay with us. And the first one, and then his 3 half siblings came to stay with us as well. And then after that, I got 3 more, so that's 7, okay, in the house. And then it wasn't long after that I got number 8, okay. And they stayed with us for a while, and I absolutely loved having the kids in my house. I loved it. All of them, all of them, okay. We had a 4-bedroom brick home that we had them in there, and it was a busy house, and I absolutely loved every minute of it. Working and going and teaching school, getting them up in the morning, getting them ready for school, loading them up into the vehicles. One vehicle, we had a van at the time, and I would take them to the school where I taught, and then the bus would pick them up from that school and take them to the respective schools. Okay, all of them, from high school all the way down to kindergarten. Um, what did I teach and what grade? Well, I've taught the entire spectrum, okay, all the way up to adult throughout the years. My first 10 years was fourth through sixth grade. I taught, and I taught 10 years in one school. And then I taught all three grades, fourth, fifth, and sixth. When I was working with, um, I was a special education teacher, and most of the time I worked in between inclusion, meaning that I went into regular classrooms and facilitated all the students, not just the students that were on my caseload. And if anyone's having trouble, and while the teacher was teaching, I was walking around and helping the students, okay, to be successful. And that was one. And then the second one, I did what they call resource. And what that is that if students are 2 grade levels or below behind, then they would come to me for specific core courses like reading and mathematics. And my job was to catch them up, okay, as quickly as possible in a small group setting. And so I would help identify students that were struggling that much and bring them into a small group setting and help catch them up. That was my goal. And I did that for 10 years and was quite successful at it. Then I went and worked for a university for 3 years and absolutely enjoyed what I did over there. And I had a 3-year contract, and when the 3-year contract was up, I went back into public school teaching. And in public school teaching, did not go back to the same school where I worked, but instead I went to a different district, and in there I worked for let me go back to the 10 years. I also taught 2 years. In those 10 years, I taught two years, I think, in a regular general ed classroom teaching science and history, and loved it. I taught the gifted as well. I taught everybody, okay? And I taught 6th grade history and science, 5th grade science, 5th grade science, 6th grade history, all right? Okay, so then I worked for, I think, 7 years for another school district in the special ed department again. And I worked with students there from 1st grade to 5th, 1st through 5th. And I was the department head in both schools where I taught for several years. And yeah, so a couple of years in both places, I worked with behaviorally challenged students. And yeah, so, and then after I worked for that school district, then I got another job working for a school district that each time I got a pay raise, okay, I worked for another school district, and I was developing a unit for autistic children, and I worked there for a year and a half. And so that's what I did. And why did I choose this rewarding career? I think the career chose me, not the other way around, okay? I kind of fell into teaching. And how did that happen? Well, my ex-husband decided he wanted to be a teacher. And when he came out of the army to go to college, that's what he decided he wanted to be. And he wanted me to go along with him because he wanted to have the summers off, he wanted to have the vacations, and he wanted to spend time with me. And so I said, okay, let's go. Let's take this career path together. And so that's how I fell into it. It wasn't something that I chose to do, but I'm glad I did. All right. I really am. I really enjoyed it. And the last question that she asked is, what about it did you love? And it's the children. Okay. Here's the thing. All right. Let me tell you. It's the children that brought me there to them, along with a push from my ex-husband. It's the children that I stayed for. The reason I left the career was the adults. Yep. It was the adults. Okay. And so the stress that was put on to teachers from administration at the top was incredible. Okay. And it still is today. Teachers are leaving left and right. There was a time when teachers enjoyed teaching and were good at it. There was a time when that, in my career, when that was to be true. But the last 3 or 4 years that I taught, that was not the case. Okay. It was more stressful. The administrator's job was to put stress on teachers. Apparently, that's what their job was. Okay. And so it became so stressful to teachers that they became physically ill. Yeah, they became physically ill. And so the year that I left the teaching profession, I got in contact with somebody at the TEA, Teachers Education Association, and they told me that the amount of teachers that quit that year was incredible. There were so many that quit the school district where I was teaching that it was a record-setting year. So that speaks volumes. All right. Am I glad I left the teaching profession? Yeah, I am. I believe it was time. Okay. Burley asks, I love your videos. They are somehow soothing. I would like to know what your favorite thing to do and your favorite food. All right, so that's a tough one. All right. My favorite thing to do probably is, my entire life has been going to the beach. I absolutely love going to the beach. And I would travel to different beaches throughout Texas and enjoy it. I don't go anymore, but maybe I will. Right now it's very difficult for me to move around, okay? And so maybe I'll get back to going to the beaches, okay? My favorite food. My favorite food would probably have to be ice cream, okay? I do, if you were looking for meals, okay? I love food in general, but one of my favorites is Chinese food. I enjoy Chinese food of any kind, okay? So there's your answer. All right. Okay, Christine asked this question. What is your favorite meal you have made with Food Bank Hall? Okay, that's a good question. All right. I can tell you that some of my favorite things to get from the food bank is watermelon. All right. So sliced watermelon is one of my favorite things to get. But I have gotten some really, really good stuff from the food bank. okay, in past food bank hauls that were not recorded. Fish is one of them. Real fish, okay? Real fish. You would not believe the amount of salmon that I have gotten from the food bank. Believe it or not, expensive salmon that I have gotten from the food bank. So I love fish. Fish is one of my favorite proteins to have. And I don't get it very often because when I get fish, it's real fish, okay? And it can be expensive. But when I can nail some from the food bank, oh yeah. I have had whole fish. Yeah, whole fish from the food bank, okay? I have also had salmon. I have had cod. I have had tilapia. Um, Several other fish that were kind of unusual. Shark. I've had shark from the food bank. It gives me an opportunity to try foods that I would have never tried myself. Okay. So, my favorite thing um, would be being creative in the kitchen with what I get from the food bank. I absolutely love getting these mystery boxes. Love it. And I have the opportunity to go twice a week if I want to. Okay. Now, here's the thing about that. I could do that twice a week. All right. And prevent food from ending up in the dumpster because I have been to places where if people don't pick it up, it goes in the dumpster. Okay? It goes no. Okay? Let me rephrase that. If people don't pick it up, farmers come and pick up the produce and they feed it to their animals. Okay? So it really doesn't go to waste. They try real hard not for it to not go to waste at the food banks. Okay? But have I seen some end up? Yes, I have. I'm not going to lie to you. Okay, I have. But for the most part, they do try to get the food to, somewhere where it's going to be useful. Okay. Um. So, one of my favorite meal I have made from the food bank would be some of the fish that I have gotten that I could not afford any other way. Okay. Now, Dakota asks, can you give a brief backstory on you, children? How did you learn Spanish? Are you native of Texas? Okay, so I gave already the brief backstory of myself. I am not native Texas. I was born in Wichita, Kansas, but we moved here when I was very young, and I was just a baby. And so, do I consider myself native Texan? I do, even though I wasn't born here. How did I learn Spanish? Well, I don't consider myself completely fluent in Spanish. I can get by with it. And I learned it from my ex-husband. My ex-husband spoke Spanish. And so his family spoke Spanish. And so when I would get together with them, I was immersed into the language and learned it that way. Children. I don't have any children of my own, but as I mentioned earlier, I did take on other people's children and had them in my house and treated them as if they were my own. Okay. And my favorites ask me, have you ever been married, jobs, and children? I think I've covered that. I was married once for almost 30 years. And yeah, so I did talk about the jobs that I've had over the years. And Did I have children? No, I didn't have my own children. But did I have children? Yeah, I had children in my house. Okay, so that's a difficult question to answer because yeah, I had children, but I didn't give birth to them. Okay, I had children in my house. Now, were they my children? They had a mom and dad. Okay, I want you to understand that they had a mom and dad, but they lived under my house. I helped raise them, so I consider them my children. Okay, I consider them my children, and but they had a mom and dad, so. All right, so that pretty much wraps up this video. All right, and so this is my Q&A video for you guys. I'm going to leave some playlists up here for you guys. Please go back and enjoy my older videos if you haven't already watched them. You guys watching my videos each and every day blesses me beyond, okay? You guys bless me each and every day. Also want you to leave a comment down below, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye bye now.